Good morning, or good afternoon, but I am Deb Fallon, and I'm here as a representative of the Beloit Public Library and the Bookleggers program. Okay. And I have some great books for you today. First of all, how many of you like graphic novels? Because the first one is Guts, and the author is Raina Telgemeier, and actually her main character is also named Raina. And I have a feeling that Raina might maybe represent Raina Telgemeier when she was quite young. But anyway, guts. What does it mean to have guts? So hopefully you can discuss that just for a minute or so. What does it mean to all of you? But Raina, guts meaning that she's able to learn to cope with her problems, which are usually based on stress. She becomes very anxious. She gets sick to her stomach, wants to miss school. Does that sound familiar to anybody? But anyway, she learns how to handle that. And so that's kind of what it means to have guts in this particular book. So that's Guts by Raina Telgemeier. Do you think that's fiction or nonfiction? Okay, the next one, I would like you first of all to close your eyes and cover your ears. We're just going to take a moment. Okay, what did that sound like? Or what did it not sound like? And how would you like living like that? The next book is about Helen Keller. And Helen Keller, in this particular book, is told, the story is told by Brad Meltzer, and it's actually written in the first person, as though Helen is talking to you. Now, Helen has been passed. She's been dead for a few years, but she was an amazing person. And she got very sick when she was young. And when she recovered, she could not hear or see anymore. And because of that, what else do you suppose couldn't happen? What couldn't she do because of her hearing, and especially her hearing? Well, the one thing she couldn't do was speak. And so here she is, a young girl. She can't hear, she can't speak, she can't see. And so she was kind of a troublesome little girl for her parents. Finally, they hired a teacher, and her teacher's name was Annie Sullivan. So it's all about Annie teaching Helen how to not necessarily speak. She did learn how to do that later, which was amazing, but how to learn the alphabet, how to read. And she did a great job. She even went to college and graduated. Now, how do you suppose she learned her letters and to read? Annie taught her the letters in her hand. So what she would do, she put her hand out, and Annie, her teacher, would write the letters in her hand. And that's how she learned many, many words. Her first word was doll and then water. And the teacher, when she had taught her the alphabet, she would spell doll in her palm and then give her the doll so that she would have something to hang on to connect the doll and the word. Then she did water. She spelled water, W-A-T-E-R in her hand. And then she'd take her out to the well, because that's what they had in those days. And she'd pump the water, and then Helen would fill the water. So, what we're going to do in class today is try that. So for the teacher, this is probably a good time to pause after I give the directions. I want the students to find a partner and to think of a word. A short word, and not maybe one like also or the, but a name of an animal. Maybe dog, cat, cow, something that is very short. And then using capital letters, I want you to spell the word in the palm of your partner's hand. And make sure you make them big so that they can feel that. And then that person who's having the letter spelled in their hand should close their eyes so they're not watching. And so I want you to take a minute or two with a partner to do this particular activity. And then we'll see how you do. And then it's something you can also do at home. Okay, but this is a great little book. Also, what do people do nowadays? What do they have to learn if they cannot see? And hopefully someone will know that the answer is Braille. And they're little dots, the little raised dots, and there's a picture of that in the book. And you can see that when you read the book. One of the good things in here, there's a lot of things that Helen Keller would say to people. And this is a quote from Helen Keller. "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched, but just felt in the heart." And so she was someone who adjusted quite well to not being able to see or hear. And she did learn how to speak. Okay, the next book is called Tornado. And Tornado is written by Betsy Byars. And it's a book about a dog whose name is Tornado. So then what I'd like you to talk about is, why do you think this dog got the name Tornado? So you could take a few minutes to do that. But what happens is that in this book, which I think you'll find to be very easy reading, and it's a chapter book, is that these people live on the plains in the United States and they have had a tornado warning. And so they go to the cellar. Now, do you know what a cellar is? Well, a cellar is like a basement, except it doesn't have to be connected to the house. And although it may be, and usually it's into the ground and there are double doors. So here's two examples of the doors that would open up, and then you'd walk down into the cellar where you would be safe from a tornado. So this takes place on a farm. And what happens is that the family goes down the stairs and then spends some time until the tornado has passed. And the farmhand tells stories about his dog to the young children. I think it's a really good book. I think you would really like it. And so make sure you read Tornado and you'll find out why the dog is called Tornado. Okay, the next book, interesting enough, is about ladybugs. Now, who would ever thought someone would write a book about ladybugs? But actually, this is the book about some girls in a high school in Santiago, Chile, in South America, who do an experiment because they wonder, once people go to space, they will have to grow food to survive. And so, many times on plants, you get little bitty bugs called aphids. These ladybugs will eat aphids. So they wanted to find out whether these particular bugs would survive in zero gravity in a spaceship or in a space station where they're growing food. And so this is then a book about Chinitas, which is the name in Chile for ladybugs. They're called mariquitas in other countries. But you wonder, where is Chile? So I wanted to show you where it is. Anybody have any idea? Well, this is South America, and these particular students lived in Santiago, which is the capital of South America. Now, to give you an idea where it is compared to where you live, here's another map of North America where we are, and then South America where Chile is. And so these girls in this high school in Santiago, Chile, worked on this experiment. They contacted NASA. Now, do you know what NASA is? Okay, I have to remember now what it is myself. The National Aeronautic and Space Administration. And that organization accepted their experiment, and the Ladybugs did go into space. And I've forgotten the name of the spaceship they were on, but they were called after the Beatles, the names they gave. There were 4 of them. Okay, so I think you will enjoy Ladybug's Launch, which is basically based on a true story. Okay, how many like mysteries? Okay, well, if you like a good mystery, here is one about a missing mummy. Do y'all know what a mummy is? This book is by Ron Roy. And again, it's a chapter book. And it's about 3 characters, Dink, Ruth, and Josh, all good friends. And they went to the museum to see the mummies that were on exhibit there. But what happened when they were there is that a mummy was stolen. And so listen to this, which is part of the mystery. The treasure chamber, like the tomb, had a stone floor partly covered with sand and gravel. The walls were also stone with no windows. Suddenly, Dink heard a low, rumbling noise. "What's that?" he asked. "It sounds like the tomb door," Ruth Rose said. The kids ran back into the tomb. They were just in time to see the wall slide shut. Josh ran to the wall and tried to force it open with his fingers. When he turned around, his face was white. "We're locked in," he said. Wow, so what do you think is going to happen? And what is a mummy? Well, a mummy is a way to keep a body of a person wrapped so that it does not rot. And this little book is about Egyptians, which you might find interesting as well. They take out the person's insides and put them in pots. Then they pack the body in salt. Then after that, they would wrap it in cloth. So mummies are all wrapped with this white cloth. And then they put it in a container. And then there's usually a mask on top. And you might have heard of King Tut. He's a very famous mummy. So I think you will enjoy the mystery of the missing mummy that actually the 3 young people in this story help solve. Okay, now the last book to me is lots of fun. It's called The Human Body, and there are 250 facts in here. Many unbelievable. Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple of those facts, and then we'll have a little like trivia contest and see what you know. Okay, one thing is that when a person tells a lie, the skin around the nose and around the eyes becomes warmer. So just remember that. Always tell the truth, huh? Also, the part of your brain called the hippocampus is responsible for memory, and it would be like kind of above your ear. It grows larger as you memorize things, and you know you have to memorize all kinds of things at school, right? Especially like your math tables. So let's see what you know. about the body. Okay, what's the strongest bone in your body? And then the teacher needs to pause and give the kids a chance to, answer. Well, if you didn't guess your jaw, then you're not correct, because it is your jaw, which is kind of amazing. What is the body mostly made up of? And that's water. What color of eyes do most people have? Well, if you didn't guess brown, again, you were not correct, because it is brown. What's the best way to prevent getting sick? You wash your hands. Okay, now, another thing you could do is you take a measuring tape like this, or a ruler, and you can measure the width of your arm span. And actually for this one you don't even have to use this, but you put your arms out like this, and that is about the length of your body. So you can measure from your fingertips to your other hand fingertips, and then see, how tall you are, and see if that is correct. Okay, you can also measure your forearm from your elbow down to your wrist, and that should be about the same length as your foot. Okay, do you know where you can feel your heartbeat? Well, if you said wrist, you're correct, or the side of your throat on your neck. Okay, how many are left-handed in here? About 10% of the population is left-handed, so you can figure out how many are in the room and figure out what's 10% and see if that corresponds to the number who use their left hands. Okay, anybody know how many bones are in the body? If you guessed 206, you did well. Okay, so lots of fun things you can do with a measuring stick, and then just quizzing maybe your family at home. So they think, boy, how smart you are that you know all of that information. So this obviously is a book of non-fiction, not fiction, and it's called The Human Body. I hope you enjoy all of those books, and make sure you check them off on the list that is in the backpack.